All right, well, hello everyone. Welcome to the Networking Masterclass for October. I'm your host, Dave, and we are just beginning the webinar. So if you're just joining us, welcome. There's a lot of new people I see that have registered for the webinar this month. So welcome all new folks, and I see a lot of veterans as well. So welcome back to the Networking Masterclass. So before we get started, just a few items for housekeeping. I like to cover this because these questions come up all the time, as do many webinars, but just some things for note. So if you're hearing me loud and clear, that's great, but if something goes wrong further into the webinar, or if you're having trouble hearing me now, you may find better luck switching between computer audio to a phone call, or from a phone call back to computer audio. It really just depends on what kind of coverage and availability you have where you're at. So if one option isn't working for you, there are other choices there. If you do choose the phone, there is additional phone numbers available to call into. So if you don't see your number listed in the dropdown, go ahead and click the link. There are many numbers available on a global level for you to be able to join us from the phone portion of the audio. Next up is we love your feedback, and this webinar really isn't the same without it. So we love it when you post your questions, when you have thoughts, comments, anything you think of really. We prefer that you put it into the Q&A portion of the webinar dashboard control panel. So there's a couple places to put your comments. One is under the chat. The other is the questions. We like the questions because it makes it a little bit easier for us to review as a panel and get back to you in a coordinated fashion. Finally, if for some reason or for any reason we're unable to get back to you or answer your question during the webinar, we invite you to email us at networkingmasterclass@citrix.com so that we can get back to you offline following the webinar. Finally, if you need to step away, or perhaps you hear something great that you'd just like to hear again after the webinar, or perhaps even share it to a colleague, just be aware that this session is being recorded, and we will be seeing a link to both the recording and the presentation covered in this session after the webinar so that you can come back and watch it again or share it on to your colleagues and friends. So even if you have to step away, rest assured you won't miss too much content, and you'll always have the option of coming back to it. So who's online today? So I'm your host, Dave Potter. I'm in the product management team for Citrix Networking. And joining us today will be guest presenter Frank Bunger. He's a product manager specifically on the networking security side for the Citrix ADC. So we have a really good topic today. It's really just going to be a single topic, so we're going to go deep on it. And we'll call this the spotlight. So what Frank will be covering with us today is a lot of information and details about what's new and exciting about bot management in the Citrix ADC, as well as what we're doing with dynamic profiling. And we have a number of live demos available just for this topic for you today. So we have a lot of content lined up. It's going to be deep, it's going to be exciting, and it'll be most importantly hands-on. I'll be closing this out after the demos with some news and views, what's coming up this month, what's exciting, and then we have the prize giveaway for you today. So today's topic, we've actually came up because we've been asking for your feedback, and we heard you loud and clear. You wanted to see more information, more topics around security, as well as topics around ADM and topics around troubleshooting. And so in hearing that, we've introduced, or we're featuring the webinar today with the security focus. In light of that, we are next month going to continue with your feedback, and the next up would be ADM. And then following in December, we're looking at going deep on troubleshooting with Citrix ADC. But if you have something else that you'd like to see, or something specific within those three topics that you'd like to go learn more about, we welcome that you submit your request in the Q&A panel. And for those that send us a number of submissions, up to 10, you will get a free Citrix t-shirt. So we will, for anyone that sends us 10 or more ideas or things that they would like to hear in future Networking Masterclass webinars, we'll be happy to follow up with you offline and give you a free Citrix t-shirt. So we have a prize giveaway for at the end of the webinar today. So for those that can make it to the end, I'll be asking a question from some of the content today. It won't be too complex or tough, I guarantee. And the prize today for the lucky winner will be a Bose SoundLink Color 2 speaker. So this is a great sounding speaker. It's actually the first time that we've offered this on Networking Masterclass. I'm really excited to give this away at the end of the webinar. All right, so to kick things off on our feature topic, our spotlight topic here is bot management and WAF dynamic profiling, specifically within Citrix ADC. And joining us is Frank Bunger. So with that, I'd like to bring Frank online. Are you with us, Frank?
I sure am. Can you hear me?
All right, I can hear you loud and clear. I'm going to go ahead and make you the presenter.
Very good, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Great to be here and talk to you a little bit about what we're doing on the security front. So before we jump right in, actually, I'd like to kick off a poll here in order to get a sense of whether or not folks are out there using the Citrix ADC platform in any sort of a security capacity. So while that's let that run open here for another 20 seconds or so. So what we've been doing on the Citrix end is we're investing a lot in security. So there's aside from some of the features we're talking about today around bot management and dynamic profiling, our latest release continues to add more and more features to the Web App Firewall, which is a product we've had for a long time and has won a lot of awards. And a couple key features in there that we've added this release, for example, is one of them is JSON parsing. So it's something our customers have been asking for a long time. So we're very keen to continue to expand this this portfolio of security offerings. All right, so I see the poll is still going here. All right, looks like about 27% say yes, 52% say no, 21% say not sure. So those of you saying no, hopefully after today, you'll have some new angles by which to use ADC in security.
And Frank, a quick comment there. We're getting a question is, what is an ADC, if you don't mind?
Yeah, of course. So the ADC or NetScaler platform is our key offering, right? So it's both a hardware and a software platform for load balancing, SSL offload, pretty much a very robust Swiss Army knife of networking offerings. So I think most customers think of us as a load balancer, but we are much more than that, and we are also a security device. So jumping right in here, what we're going to do today is have just a small number of slides from myself, and we're going to be doing some live demonstrations with my colleagues Rama, Vamshi, and Navidita, and we're going to make this as conversational as possible as well. So feel free to throw out questions anytime, and one of us will respond in the chat or verbally. So jumping right into the bot management component, for those of you who aren't aware, bots are an enormous problem on the internet. Depending on where you look, anywhere between 35 and 50% of all internet traffic is automation of some form. So a tremendous volume of traffic out there, some good, but a lot of it is bad. So bot management, the purpose of bot management is to manage those requests. That's why we call it management, because some bots are good. You probably want the Google search crawler indexing your site, but you may not want a competitor or unidentified bot scraping content from your site or trying to stick inventory in your shopping cart and holding it indefinitely to mess up your availability. So that's what the objective is, to identify automation versus a person that's actually using your public assets. So since there's such a tremendous volume, bots also have a wide range of intents and a wide range of sophistication. So it could be anything from a kid in his college dorm room running a script, spamming the internet, all the way to nation states perpetrating attacks or scouring for vulnerabilities. So it's pretty amazing that in this flat playing field that a nation state and a college kid in his dorm room are kind of on the same playing field. But that is what the internet is today. So on the intent front, it's also the same. DDoS, DOS, exploiting vulnerabilities, and also a lot of good bots like the Google search crawler, for example, or Maybe you like having news bots crawl your site to make sure they pick up the latest press release from your company. So our goal with bot management is to defend all of your public infrastructure, so websites, apps, and APIs. So we use a system of bot signatures that have been cultivated by our security team, plus a behavioral detection system to identify and manage those requests. So allow them, drop them, redirect them, or block them. And the goal here is to block that wide range of intents, right? It's not just necessarily a script. Any form of a bot we want to be able to pick up on. All right, so I've described this a little bit. So the first two I described there, so signatures and behavior-based. We also have a malicious IP sensing mechanism in here that's provided through our partner WebRoot, and this is a mechanism that those of you who have used our Web App Firewall product may be familiar with already. Every 5 minutes, it gets a delta of a couple thousand new malicious IPs that automatically get blocked. So basically, between signatures and malicious IPs, right out of the gate, you're blocking a couple million bad actors out there right away. So low-hanging fruit to deliver a lot of value. There's also a rate limit mechanism so that let's say that some bots slip through these systems. You can also kind of use it as a catch-all umbrella. And lastly, there's a very flexible and robust whitelist and blacklist so that number one, we ensure that you don't get any false positives and you can manage them. And number two, you can blacklist any resources you deem to be malicious or competitors, for example. And the intent here again is website application APIs on any ADC platform, hardware, software, cloud or not cloud. So with that, we're going to jump into the demo here. Just last note that this is also this is available now. So if you go to your citrix.com portal, you can download it right now. This is the September 17th release and available with a premium or platinum license. So I'm going to hand over the screen share here to my colleague Rama, who will be walking you through this a little further.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. So yeah, so as part of this demo, we'll go through the different configuration entities that are involved in the bot feature settings. And first, let me start with the enable disable feature. So bot management is a new feature which is added into the ADC, and this is a platinum-based licensed feature. So and that comes under the advanced features in ADC. So here is the feature Citrix Bot Management. So that should be enabled first. There is a first step as part of the configuration. And then there is a new tab added under the security in ADC. So Citrix Bot Management. And this is the landing page. So this talks about the kind of summary, bot management, what we provide and what we do as part of the bot protection, and the kind of profiles and the policies summary here. And as part of the bot, we ship in few built-in signatures. So the first step is just clone the signatures by clicking on selecting the default signatures and clicking on the clone, and just give the whatever the name you want here, and then click on the create here at the bottom.
And just to be clear, these signatures ship with the platform, and there's over 3,500 of these signatures that our security team has cultivated.
Yeah. So I have a sample signature created here. There is a demo, and then the next part in the configuration is creating the bot profile. So click on the add and here give the name for the profile, and select the signatures that is created in the previous step. So that is the demo signature, and click on create. So now we have the bot profile created here, and the next step is once the profile is created, just we have to create the policy for the bot like any other NetScaler policy. Just give the policy name here and give the rules here for the policy, and then the corresponding bot profile. Just now we created for this one. So I'm selecting the created profile and clicking on the create.
This is a very similar process that many of you may be familiar with in the other Citrix product areas of a profile is bound to a policy, right? And the policy is then bound to either an expression or a VIP.
LBB server at the global level. So till we have now bot profile and the policy. Now I'm binding the policy to the LBB server. I'm choosing the LBB server here, and I have a vServer created already, LB1. I'm choosing that one, and I'm clicking on the bind. Okay, we need to select the policy also.
And while this is happening, I'm seeing a lot of questions asking about, is it possible to import new signatures, and is there any update or upgrade mechanism built into that?
Yeah, it certainly is. So you can actually, part of the reason that our signatures are visible there is that you can also create and import your own signatures. You definitely can. We also provide updates to the signatures with every major release. And in the future, there'll also be a more live update mechanism that they get updated more regularly than a feature release.
Yeah. So yeah. So as of now, we have the policy profile and binding the policy to the LBB server. So that's the kind. Yeah. So we are done with the bot settings. So we have the policy and the profile now, which is working. And the next step I want to show here is bot settings. We have a feature level settings in the bot. So that one talks about the session timeout, and as part of the bot sessionization, we create the session cookie in the bot. So this is the cookie name we use in creating the session cookie. So if customer wants to change the name, right, they can go ahead and change the name here. And this is a session timeout, and as of now it's 15 minutes. So for every 15 minutes we session out the clients and again create a new session. So it's a configurable entity. And for one of the bots security check, right, we use a device fingerprinting mechanism. For that one we use a JavaScript. So this is a JavaScript name, we send it in the response, one of the responses to the client. So if it is kind of conflicting with the backend resources, right, customer has the flexibility to change the JavaScript name here. So these are the global settings in the bot.
So basically, what you've seen here is he's configured the profile, the policy, and if we go into the profile and just show some of the settings there. Yeah. So basically, it's already live at this point. So it took him all of 2-3 minutes to get this going. And we'll show you some of the items here in the profile. So let's do bot signatures and device fingerprint first. So as you see here, the bot signature is enabled. So this is the 3,500 signatures that I mentioned that our team has cultivated. And expand device fingerprint there on the right. Device fingerprinting is enabled. So basically, between these two categories, let's also do IP reputation. So it's also enabled. So between these three categories, so bot signatures, IP reputation, and device fingerprint, you've drastically improved your defensive posture in the manner of a number of minutes, right? So it's very quick to get started. So with that said, I kind of want to showcase the simplicity, how easy it is to get going, but I also want to make sure we dive into the detail of it. So let's now talk more about each of these areas.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, so let me go through the one by one. So we have around 6 different categories in the profile. So as Frank mentioned in his slides, right, this the blacklist and whitelist is very straightforward. If you want to bypass, whitelist is kind of a for avoiding the false positives. If the customer finds any false positives, right, if he wants to bypass the bot feature for those clients or requests, he can add them in the whitelist. So let me go through the sample configuration here. So there are 3 different entities in the whitelist and blacklist. You can have a IP-based configuration or subnet-based or expression. So in the expression, we allow all the policy union rules here. You can say http.request.url contains, or it could be anything, whatever the PA expressions we allow in all other NetScaler entities, right? All are allowed here. And once you have the expression, then you can have the log message and the comments for that configuration. So similarly, the blacklisting is a kind of, if any of the feature is not blocking the desired request or to the clients, right? The customer has the flexibility to add those IPs or expressions based configuration in the blacklist. So whenever the request matches with the blacklist configuration, we take the configured action in bot management. So that's about the blacklist and the whitelist. And the next one is the bot signatures. These are the user agent based bots default signatures we ship with the ADC. So there are different kinds of signatures. You can see here the bad bots and the good bots. We have these are related to the crawlers and the search engines. So all the good search engines, right, they marked as a good bot, and all the crawlers, they marked as a bad agents. These are the user agent based, and they have a different action here. So these are configurable again. And the next one is the rate limiting. So in the rate limiting, we have three different types of rate limiting configurations. The first one is the session based. If customer wants to, so here, right, customer, he can give the particular cookie name in the HTTP request header. Based on that, he can rate limit the requests. Here is the rate and the period, and here is the cookie name. And these are the configuration options. I mean, what kind of actions he wants to take, whether to redirect those requests or drop them, and the kind of log message he wants when we take the action or when we detect the rate limiting. And the next one is the IP based one. So in the IP based, this customer has to give the rate and the period. That's also because it's IP based, right? We track the number of IP number of requests we are getting originating from those IPs, and we take the action. And the next one is resource based. In the resource based, right, you can have the URL. So for example, if you have any login form or something, if you want to restrict 100 requests, 100 submissions per second or something, right, you can give the URL here, action URL here, and the rate and the period and the corresponding actions you want to take. And that's about the resource based configuration. And the
one note about the URL. So the URL one, you might want to use that on a rate limit front. Say, for example, if you have a login page or form page or other sensitive pages, so you might apply rate limits slightly different to different pages, right? So this gives you the flexibility to do that through the system.
So the next configuration which is available in bot is the IP reputation. So we have a IP based and the different category based reputations. So if you want the reputation service based on the IP, just select the categories IP, or we have different categories like scanners and the DOS and the reputation, the phishing attacks. So if you want to block the clients based on the reputation category, right, you can select any of them. And these are the drop and redirect. Those are the allowed actions. And if you want to log those requests, whenever we detect the request from the bad clients or bad IPs, right, just select the log and the log, give the log message, whatever the log message you want in the audit logs. And the last one is the device fingerprinting. So as part of the device fingerprinting, we send a JavaScript to the client, and we create a unique ID for that client. And when we get the details from as part of the JavaScript submission from the client, we would be getting the unique entities that are defined for that client, and we create a unique ID, and we do a set cookie for that client. Using that set cookie, we track whether the client is a good client or the bad client. So if you want to enable the device fingerprinting, just click this enable button and give the actions, whether you want to drop the request or redirect the request.
In the redirect is fairly common functionality in this realm, but that's in case you want to redirect someone to a specific page. Say if you want to redirect them to your home page, you could redirect them to a custom error URL or some such that warns you that you are potentially a bot, and this is the action you need to take. That's the purpose of redirect.
Yeah. So that error URL is configurable in the profile. So by default, it's defined as a /, but if you want to change it, you can go ahead and change it in the profile settings. So yeah, with that, yeah, we almost covered all the configuration entities in the bot profile. So let me move on to the we have generated few violations, and we have the reports generated in the ADM. So whenever if there is a ADM configured on the ADC, and whenever we generate the violations on the ADC, we report them in the ADM. So let me go through the ADM and show kind of pre-generated violations. So we have a bot insight in the ADM page here on the left panel. So this is the landing page for the bot insight. Here on the right side, you can see the instances here. So once you click on the instance, it shows here the list of LBV servers configured on that box. So all the violations, I mean, the summary is here. You will see a one-line summary for the each LBV server configured on the box. If you choose any LBV server, it takes you to the detailed view. Here we have the top box. We have the application summary, the number of requests per second, and the bots by CBRT, and the category, and the geo source location. This is the kind of summary you would be getting. So here is a map saying, okay, kind of a request you're getting from the different locations. And at the bottom right, this summary that is aggregated upon the bot category. If you see here, right, we have a different violations reported in ADM based on different categories. So, for example, crawlers, blacklisted, and the invalid device fingerprinting, and the whitelisting, and different scanner tools. Okay, let me just go through one of the reports and
just to take a brief step back here. So the ADM, also formerly known as our MAS product, for those who have used it before, is the central reporting engine for all things ADC. So not just is it a tool for reporting on your bot incidents, it also reports on your Web App Firewall security incidents. It is also an excellent reporter on application performance and delivery latency. It's kind of intended to be a one-stop shop for ADC network visibility, if that makes sense. So with this release, we added this page here that Rama is showing you right now to showcase bot incidents.
So this is the kind of detailed reporting for the one of the category in the bot violations, that is for the crawlers category. So if you see here, right, we have a detailed logging saying, okay, at what time the attack is reported in ADM or generated on the ADC, okay, and the client IP, the originating IP here, and the kind of bot, whether it's a bad bot or good bot, and what is the severity of that attack, and what kind of action we took when we got that kind of attack on the ADC. And this is the bot category here, and what is the detection mechanism, as part of what detection mechanism we found this one. And as of ideally, this is supposed to be geolocation details. They're supposed to come here, but looks like the geolocation is not configured on the ADC box, so that's why we are not seeing the details here. And ideally, if the geolocation details are configured on the ADC, you will see a longitude and the latitude. And the last column, it talks about the kind of request URL for which we got the attack. So let me take you back to the summary again here. So similarly, we have for blacklist also, we have the similar kind of report, the attack time, client IP, the kind of bot, and the bot detection mechanism, and the request URL, the origin URL. So the other thing is, here you have a timelines based on the hour or a day or week. You can choose a timeline. So based on that, we display the attacks that are generated in that time duration. Yeah, I think that's pretty much from that.
Yeah, great. So sorry, there's a lot of questions. I'm trying to get through them all here in the background, but it looks like a lot of interest. So thank you, everyone. So let's move on to the WAF dynamic profiling piece in that case, and I'll continue. So Rama and I will continue answering questions in the background here on bot. So feel free to keep putting questions in the question box, and we are continuing to answer them as we proceed along. So let me just go make myself presenter briefly to do just a small number of slides on dynamic profiling, and then we'll go into another live demonstration. So I want to keep this, continue to keep this hands-on for you guys. 1 second here. Okay, so dynamic profiling. So dynamic profiling is a function of our Web App Firewall. Web App Firewalls have been around for quite a long time. Citrix has had a Web App Firewall product for something like 15 years now. So one challenge with all Web App Firewalls is tuning it, because what you're trying to do with it is protect at a layer 7 level your application from malicious attacks, right? SQL injection, cross-site scripting, buffer overflow, all sorts of potential ways to get at your application out there. But unlike a traditional firewall, it's a little bit more time intensive to tune, because in the layer 7 things get messy and things get hairy. So the complaint for security operators and IT admins and network operators is that it's time consuming and it's painful, because they often do not have control over the applications they're charged to defend. And it could be that the application is being deployed to at a, in a happy, lucky DevOps manner very frequently. Maybe it's even deployed to every day. So that's great from a business point of view, but from a security point of view, it's very hard to keep up. So the challenge here is met by dynamic profiling. So dynamic profiling is a system that automatically learns the properties of an application and adapts to it, incrementally putting changes into the Web App Firewall rule set over time, so that basically the security operator doesn't need to do it. All right, so when we're talking about rule sets, what we're really talking about here in the Citrix context is relaxation rules. A relaxation rule, again, is a permitted type of application behavior, specifically. So what we're coming out of the gate here is with that automated rule creation I just described, we're aiming to vastly reduce the security overhead of managing it, and also make it easier and faster to scale. Because the feedback we heard from customers was that, this is a great product, it's working fantastic, but it takes us a couple days or a week per application, right? For an enterprise that has 100 applications, that's just too time consuming. So we want to make it more scalable and faster to scale for large enterprises. So the way dynamic profiling works is that if you start at the top bubble here in this slide, there's a config and threshold system. And what we do is we use our learning engine, which was it was already there for many years, but we've augmented it now. And when a particular type of behavior hits that threshold or goes through the trusted client mechanism, we notify the user that we're about to deploy that relaxation, give them a time threshold to react to that warning, and then implement it. So that time is configurable from anywhere from 5 minutes to 30 days. So you can set yourself a very long grace period if you need to. So just to reiterate, there's two categories by which the automation occurs. So one is through a threshold system. So you can set if I get exactly X type of application behavior incoming 10,000 times, go ahead and accept it. But that could also be an attack, right? So what we recommend is the second mechanism, which is trusted clients. So trusted clients is a mechanism that any sort of application behavior initiated by the trusted client is automatically created in dynamic profiling as an accepted relaxation rule. The idea here being that a trusted client would be probably like a UAT device, right? So something that the devs have deployed to before it goes into prod to validate their changes. So it already has the current application behavior, but it's not yet fully live. So that by the time it does go live, you've already got your new relaxation rules in place. And lastly, there's also a mechanism to remove configured relaxations that are not in use anymore. Okay, and with that, let's jump into a demo of this as well. So this is also available right now today as of our September 17th release. With our Web App Firewall product, it is available with a premium license. And again, any platform, hardware, virtual, and in any cloud. So with that, I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Vamshi here, or sorry, actually Navidita, who will be running this portion of the demo.
Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Nivedita, and I have my colleague with me, Vamshi. So we're just going to go into the demo for dynamic profiling. So as Frank mentioned, this feature of dynamic profiling comes along with the Citrix Web App Firewall. So in terms of configuring the feature, if you have the App Firewall feature configured on your Netscaler, you should be good to try out dynamic profiling. So, so I'm just going to go into the profile section for the Web App Firewall. Okay, so we'll go into the App Firewall page for the Netscaler. Security, Citrix Web App Firewall, and into profiles. So this feature can be, you can use it with an already existing profile, or you could even add a new profile. So there's no restriction on that. So I already have a profile here created by the name of demo. So I can go in here and configure the dynamic profiling feature. So if you can see on the right-hand side, we have a new screen for dynamic profiling. So if you can go ahead and enter that screen. These are the security checks which at the moment we are supporting under dynamic profiling. This list would be expanded with time. So to begin with, we can go ahead and try out the SQL injection security feature, and I can enable it from this button. So
when you also worth noting here that when you enable dynamic profiling, the learning engine is automatically enabled as well under the hood. So there's no extra configuration to do there.
Okay. So what we can do is we can go into the settings of the dynamic profiling where you can actually set the thresholds and the time to deploy. So if we go into the SQL injection learning thresholds, so the minimum number of sessions is what the so this would be the threshold of the number of violations it would wait for before actually learning the data. So if at the moment I have set this to 1, right after 1 violation, it should be able to learn the particular traffic pattern and be able to configure relaxation rules for it. Also, we have a section for time to auto deploy. So since one of the main features of dynamic profiling is to auto deploy the learn rules that have been configured as relaxation so as to make it convenient for the user to not go and manually do it every time. So you can actually set the time that is convenient to the user as to after how long should it automatically deploy the relaxation. So here it's been set to 5 minutes. So basically the user would have time up to 5 minutes to basically go ahead and make any changes if they need to. Else, if no change has been made to the learn rule, after 5 minutes, the learn rule would be automatically deployed as a relaxation, and any other traffic coming after that would be permitted as it's already been configured as a relaxation. So it would no longer be a violation for the customer.
And just to add here, so in the purposes of this demo, we're setting these thresholds extremely low, right? In the real world, we would expect these to be any sort of real environment. These thresholds would be very, very high.
Right. So at the moment, it's set to 1 as a threshold and 5 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK.
So, and one more important thing to note here is the configuration for the trusted learning clients. So this has been there from beginning to when we were supporting learning engine. So this is part of the learning engine configuration where we sort of whitelist a set of IP addresses from which we're going to learn. So with dynamic learning enabled, it becomes really important that we do configure the trusted client so that we learn the false positives from trusted sources. So it's very important that user configure the trusted clients.
Okay. So these are so what Vamshi and Navita are outlining are the 2 primary categories I described, right? So there's trusted clients and there's the threshold mechanism. So right now we're looking at the threshold mechanism with Navita.
Right. So we've gone ahead and enabled dynamic profiling for the SQL injection. So another point to note is that since this the main functionality here is to auto deploy learn rules, it should be the learn action should be enabled already for the security check. So I'm going to go ahead and just verify that that is the case. So if you go into the profile and go into security checks, and we look at the SQL injection security check, since I have enabled the dynamic profiling for SQL injection, it has already gone ahead and enabled the learn action for the security check. So we're good to try this out. Go ahead here and save and close and done. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to send. This is my login page that I have behind my VIP. So I can go ahead and enter and here, and so I can just to try this out, I can put in some SQL keyword here to test out the SQL injection, and I'm going to go into login. So it's redirected me to the home page because it's detected that as a violation. So I'm going to go ahead here.
In other words, it was detected as a SQL injection attack, right?
Yeah. So if I go into the learn rule, since my threshold had been set to 1, I should be able to see that as already learned here. Right. So as we can see, since it was the threshold was 1 and it encountered one violation with the SQL keyword of drop, it has added that as a learn rule with this field name and the form URL of the value type keyword and the drop as the actual keyword.
So basically what it demonstrates really here is, so it's really difficult to configure various relaxations that are needed for different security checks that we have. So learning in a way helps to automatically detect some of these violations based on the thresholds that have been set. These are possible false positives that are being shown to the user. So before dynamic learning, user would have to review his learned rules periodically and deploy those manually here in this tab. But with dynamic profiling enabled, once he sets the auto deploy grace period configured, whenever there is a violation that we see which crosses the given threshold, we would send an alert to the user saying that there's a rule that we have learned and it would be deployed in configured amount of minutes or days. And if user does not take any action, by that what I mean is if user feels this is a valid a false positive, he need not take any action. So it would dynamic profiling would go ahead and auto deploy this as a relaxation. So from following on, so what that really means in this particular demo would be like in comment section, the SQL keyword doesn't make, even if there are SQL keywords, that's not a really problem. So we would go ahead and allow these particular SQL keywords that we have encountered. If user feels this, when he gets the first alert, if user thinks, no, this is a valid violation, it shouldn't be relaxed, he can come to the learn rules tab here and do a skip that is shown here. So that way, that rule will not be really auto deployed. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, anyways, again.
Yeah. So as Vamshi spoke about the alerts that are sent. So at the time that the violation has been learned, there will be one SNMP alert which will be sent to the user to indicate that a learn rule has been encountered and that it would be auto deployed after whatever time has been configured that we saw in the settings, which is at the moment it is set to 5 minutes, but it would display that in the alert. So all our alerts for dynamic profiling appear in the ADM. And so we have the report section, and if we go into the minor, it is configured as a minor severity. So if you see, this is the alert, this is the netscaler, and this is the alert which we send for the first time when the learn rule is actually, when the violation has been learned. So if we go in here, yeah, so basically this is saying that the learn rule will be auto deployed after the 5 minutes that we have configured. The type of the violation is SQL injection, and it has all the details as to which profile, the URL, what kind of keyword, and the value. So this is one of the 2 SNMP alerts which have been configured. The second alert would show up over here when it is actually once the threshold of 5 minutes or whatever time that you have set. Once that time has elapsed, you see a second alert which says that the rule has been automatically deployed as a relaxation. So while we're waiting for the threshold that to expire, I can show you an example of what that second alert actually looks like. So the second SNMP alert comes up as a learn rule applied with dynamic profiling, and it would say the message would give all the information about the learn rule, similar to what we saw in the first one, but the significance of this rule is that it has already been deployed as a relaxation, and any other traffic would be permitted with the same keyword and the same URL.
And with all things ADM, so just a quick refresher that the ADM, or MAS as it used to be known, is the central reporting engine. So as with all things ADM, there were some questions in the chat too about this. The ADM is extremely flexible and customizable in terms of the alerting. So for pretty much any sort of log message under the sun, or even specific pieces of a log message, you can create email alerts to alert yourself of some sort of action impending, right? So that's why all of the bot and dynamic profiling reporting is centralized into ADM.
Yeah, I guess we're resolving.
I think that's fine.
Yeah, so I think
we are done with the.
Okay. Yeah, very good. So that kind of summarizes what we're doing on the hands-on side. So we're still going through some questions here. Dave, I'll hand it back over to you. And in the meantime, we're continuing to go through some of the questions here. There's a lot, so sorry, we're just trying to catch up on all of them.
Sure. If you prefer, if you see something that's asked frequently, maybe it's best just to take that live so that everyone can benefit from it. In fact,
sure thing. Yeah, I think the one I see most recurring is around versioning. So it's 13.0.41 and beyond, and that's available right now on your Citrix.com portal. So log into your account. It does require Platinum or Premium license, and that's because both bot management is a security feature, and dynamic profiling is part of WAF, which is a security feature. So that is all part of the same software. So, again, it doesn't matter what hardware platform you have, you can upgrade to this version.
Great. And then because we have so much feedback on this webinar, apparently this topic is of immense interest. I think what we're going to do is try to answer most of these questions and put them into a FAQ. And we'll be sharing out a FAQ special for this webinar just so that everyone can, experience and, and get the information from all the useful questions that have coming out. So there's so much participation. It's fantastic. And I'm really excited that this has really sparked so much interest in the community with us today. So thanks so much, Frank, and the team there for giving us a lot of hands-on. I think that was very practical and very useful. So there's a lot of information there. And I'm very happy that to see this work and actually be able to be shown, directly without a whole lot of slideware. So it's much appreciated. All right. So with that, I'd like to go into our next section of the webinar, which is where I cover kind of what's happening, what caught my interest this month, and then we'll be wrapping it up with the prize giveaway as we're coming up at the end of the hour. So we're trying to keep things a little bit more succinct so that we can take a little more use of your time without drawing you out too much, while still trying to give you all the information. So again, as I mentioned at the beginning, if you found this topic very interesting for you and you'd like to see more on security, or you have something else that you'd like to focus on in security, we'd be very happy to hear from you in the Q&A, and we will make sure to take note of that and highlight that or feature something like that again in a future topic. All right, so what's going on here this month? So when I like looking at the Citrix blogs and the news because it's really pertinent to not only the industry, but also kind of what we're doing within Citrix that's unique to the way that we see the way things are shaping up. So in continuing with the security theme from today, there is some new capabilities available in the Citrix ADC. That there was a question on this earlier, and what is an ADC? If you haven't caught up by now, the Citrix ADC is the new name for NetScaler. So if you may be familiar with NetScaler, or perhaps if not, just know that the Citrix ADC is our server load balancer that also accompanies or includes other features and functionality like you saw today with a Web Application Firewall, as well as gateway and authentication controls. So there is some new capability added in the Citrix ADC. Specifically, this blog covers what is new with IPS and next generation firewall and ICAP server redirection, including mirroring HTTP and HTTPS traffic for passive monitoring devices. So in this blog, Vinod talks about a little bit about what we have enhanced, specifically where it comes to content inspection, the content inspection feature within the ADC. And there's a lot of detail here. If this piques your interest, there's a lot of links in this blog so that you can get more information about it. So I invite you to check out this blog if today's topic was of interest, and perhaps you'd like to see what we're doing new on content inspection. Also in light, so a lot of the content today was available, if you noticed, in another product of ours called the Citrix ADM, or Application Delivery Management Service or software. Either product, both. So a lot of the statistics, analytics, and notifications, it's a little too complex for the ADC console itself. So we prefer to aggregate that into ADM. And ADM is the platform that we've chosen to make this easier for you to consume and to customize notifications. So in this blog, just written a few days back, Maha Shweta illustrates some of the newest features in our ADM service, specifically around visibility. So this isn't only on security, this is also on the way that your users are accessing or consuming the services that are load balanced by Citrix ADC. So if you're interested in what's new or relatively new within ADM and ADM service, there's a couple of features that Mahashweta calls out specifically, like web transaction logging, infrastructure analytics, as well as cloud native analytics that think Kubernetes there. So there's a lot more detail available in this blog. I invite you to check it out to see what new information that you can have available to you through ADM itself. Finally, we have a whole lot of stuff coming out on YouTube, and in the past 2 weeks specifically, we've got several new videos by one of our own product managers, Sanyukta. And so there's several new videos here. I've included a link at the top just so you can go straight to the CitrixTV networking playlist, which is actually my favorite place to go when I'm looking for new videos from Citrix. And in fact, you'll see a number of videos there from yours truly. So this playlist is where we put all of our new features for the ADC, anything that's new that's coming out. Typically, these videos will be hands-on demos like you saw today in the webinar. With a voiceover. They may be a little bit quicker, they may be bite-sized, or they may be long. So we have a lot of videos available in this playlist. Most recently, we introduced videos showcasing not a brand new feature, but a very useful one on security. It's the SSL dashboard, allowing you to see kind of how your certificates are working, how the services are being consumed across the infrastructure being managed by ADM. And it also allows you to make changes to the certificate. So we have a nice demo showing the SSL dashboard and its capabilities. And we have 2 additional videos showing things like web transaction analytics, as well as detailed logging on transactions. So think helping you with troubleshooting, which will be going into a lot of detail at the end of this year in December, as well as being able to show you things like, are the servers responding well evenly, or are they responding, abnormally? And, this is something that you could see very easily with the dashboard. So we have a number of videos available. This link is a little bit long. If you just want to Google this, you could Google CitrixTV. Once you go into the Citrix account, just go under playlists. It's a little bit difficult to find the networking one because it's buried, but you can navigate under all playlists, go to networking, and there you'll see your focus for all Citrix networking, ADC, WAF, ADM related videos. All right, so we're coming up at the end of the hour, and this is the fun part where I'm going to ask a question, and the first person to type into the Q&A panel the answer to this question will win the grand prize giveaway. So today's giveaway is a Bose SoundLink Color 2 speaker. It's the first time we're giving this away, so I'm very excited to do that. So I just ask if I know everyone would like a chance to win this, but if you've won the prize recently, say in the last 6 months, I would appreciate it if you would just hold back from the answer, from giving an answer, so that we can, offer the prize to all of the new people and give everyone an equal opportunity. So with that in mind, appreciate it so much, and get your hands ready. Everyone get your Q&A panel focused, and I'm about to ask the question from today's topic. So this may be a little bit tricky, but if you're paying attention, it should be no challenge. So first person to answer the question wins the prize, and the question today is, dynamic profiling enables the WAF to blank existing security rules. So there's a word there, and looks like we've got our winner here. And it looks like Daniel G is the first one to come up. He came up with the first correct answer, and the answer is relax, although I would also take skip or any other related word there. So congratulations, Daniel G. We will follow up with you for the grand prize. And the word there is dynamic profiling, allows the WAF to relax or skip existing security rules with administrative approval. So awesome. You guys are, so many people got to the Q&A there. So that's very exciting to see that you've stuck around. I'm pretty happy to see that as well. So if you didn't win the prize, of course, we have some other opportunities for you. So following the webinar today, you'll get a survey, and we appreciate your feedback in the survey link. We do read every one of these. And if you fill out the survey and get back to us, you'll be entered for a chance to win this really awesome Citrix backpack. So it's very useful. There's a lot of pockets here, a lot of compartments. So I invite you to, stick around after the webinar, complete the survey in our email or at the very end of the webinar, and you'll be entered for a chance to win your own Citrix backpack. All right, so this is the first time I think that we're going to end this webinar right at 1 hour. I'm pretty excited about that. I hope you are too. So that brings us to the end of another fantastic networking masterclass. And it remains only to thank the fantastic crew of our presenters, Frank and the wide team in the office, for their time today and for sharing with us all of this great content on bot management and security and dynamic profiling. And of course, it shouldn't go without being mentioned, thank you to our audience for sticking around and for making this so much fun with your participation and questions. I'm Dave, and until next month, where our topic is ADM, thanks for joining us, and until then, goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.